Order. First, I want to thank everyone for being here. And this is our first Recreation and Cultural Services Commission meeting in quite a while. So thank you all for being here. The first agenda item is to swear in our new commissioners. So I'm going to turn this over to Carolina.
Please approach the dais. And so we're all going to read it at the same time. Okay, so I state your name. And we will read all this together. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Come out and sign your certificates. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Please take a seat on the dais. You want me to do roll call? Okay, everyone, at this moment, I would like to do the roll call and establishment of quorum. Commissioner Sean Adams, Sheila Baker, Mia Nguyen, and Lisa Wright. And so now if you please stand, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So now at this time, we will have elections. The first one is the Recreation and Cultural Services Commission Chair. If anyone would like to take that role on, I do need a motion. I'll do it. Can I get a second? So now we do hold a vote. All in favor? Nays? Motion passes. So the second one is Vice Chair. Can I get a motion? Can I get yays? And the nays? Motion passes.
Thank you, Carolina, and thank you to all of you. So Lisa, as the chair, there should be a gavel up there, which is now yours. There you go. At this point, we just want to make a couple special announcements. I believe you have flyers in your packet, but this Friday, December 8th, we are having a kids' night in, which is from 6 to 9 at the Marina Youth Center. And the idea behind this program was to give parents an opportunity to go out and do some shopping or wrap some gifts, or maybe just go out to dinner, have a nice night out, and let us watch the kids. So it's going to be a very fun evening. It's going to be a Whoville theme. And there's going to be food and music and arts and crafts provided by the Marina Youth Arts. So we're very excited about that. And we just wanted to let everyone know. The other announcement is that we will be hosting a holiday dinner and Winterfest on Sunday, December 17th from 1 to 4. Again, free food, entertainment, activities. It's going to be a really, really great event. So want to make sure that the commission and the public are aware of that. At this point, Lisa, I'm going to hand it off to you for the consent agenda. And the way the consent agenda works is that if you don't have any questions or comments about the items on the consent agenda, then you can just vote to approve those items. If you have questions, you can pull it and we can discuss it later in the meeting. The two agenda items are just informing the commission about two resolutions that were recently passed by City Council. So there's no action for you to take. We're just informing you. One, and I'll talk about both of these later, but one is a new fitness class program, and the other is a scholarship program. So would you like to ask the commission? I told you this was going to be a learning experience for all of us. So I forgot to ask if there were any public comments from the floor. No, just public comment.
Got it. Hello, my name is Christina Medina Turkson. I'm a resident of Marina and the liaison here, council member. I was trying to pretend that I was just a regular person, which I am. Council member, and I just want to tell my appreciation, share all my appreciation for all of you and the work that you're about to embark on. It occurred to me that perhaps you don't know each other very well, and hopefully you might get a chance to get to know one another. And if I can facilitate any of that, I would love to do that. But the work you're about to embark into is hopefully going to be shaping some of the decisions or the recommendations of the City Council. So I appreciate your willingness and your interest. It's taken a while to get to this point. We know that. But now that we have a new recreation lead, I think we're already off and a great administrative assistant, Carolina, and a staff that is doing some phenomenal things. I think we're headed on a good path. So I just wanted to offer any support that I can give you. If you have any questions, and just tell you from the heartfelt from our community, thank you for stepping up to serve.
So Chair, at this point, you can ask if there's a motion to approve the consent agenda. Can you turn your microphone on? The little button on the base. Now it's on.
Oh, okay. I guess I have a question about the consent agenda thing. Because you said you would explain this stuff to us first.
So you have in your packet, you have the actual resolution.
Right.
So if you have questions, then we can pull the consent agenda and we can discuss it later in the meeting.
Okay, so if we know absolutely nothing about it because we just got this piece of paper, can I just say I have questions? And then you would explain it to us and then we would talk about it? I don't really, I'm trying to get a feel for how this goes.
Right. Shortly, our city attorney is going to come up and give everyone a little bit of training on Robert's Rules of Order and how to proceed in the meeting.
Okay.
And so could we table the consent until after you go through the training? Would that be helpful? No?
No,
I'm thinking it would be really helpful.
you could either just pull the items and have them go after the presentation, or you could reorder the agenda and just have my presentation first, however you want to do it.
Let's just reorder the agenda.
Are you guys cool with reordering the agenda? Okay, we're all agreeing.
Thank you. At this point, I want to introduce Heidi Quinn, the city attorney, and she was nice enough to agree to come in tonight after a very long city council meeting last night. And she's going to go over the Brown Act, the Public Records Act, and parliamentary procedures. Okay.
Good evening. Congratulations on your new position, and thank you for inviting me here tonight. Before I start, I'd just like to know how much experience you have with those laws that Andrea mentioned, the Brown Act, the Public Records Act, and Robert's Rules of Order. Do you have some familiarity? Okay, so this will probably be a refresher for you. I'll just start going through some of the basics, and if you have any questions, just stop me and I'll pause and we can answer them. I think when you first become a public official, it's difficult to get used to all the rules that apply. But if you keep in mind that the goal is to really conduct the public's business in public, so that just means all deliberations, all action should really be taken in public. And if you just keep that basic rule in mind, you're going to be fine. And it's easy to get hung up on, oh, I should say this or I should say that. But I would say try not to worry about it. Because at the end of the day, if you're creating a record so that the public can understand what's happening, and then months later you could go back and understand what happened, that's really just the goal. So to start with, the Brown Act, this rule is really just has some very basic rules to make sure that your business is conducted in public. So the Brown Act applies to the city council and then any subsidiary bodies. So it would apply to the planning commission, obviously your commission, any type of commission or committee that's established. You may find that in our municipal code, or the council may create a special committee. For example, we've talked about a public art policy at one of the council meetings. Perhaps there would be a new committee created for that or somehow. So that would also be subject to the Brown Act. If a body is subject to the Brown Act, that means that all the meetings, when you have a quorum of the committee present, need to be noticed and publicized so the public can participate. So really, what is a meeting? A meeting is whenever you have a majority of the body in the same place, it could be by teleconference, to hear, discuss, or deliberate an item that's within the subject matter jurisdiction of the body. So here tonight, we have a formal public meeting, and you're here to discuss business that's within the jurisdiction of the commission, such as this contract, the resolutions that Andrea discussed. Where people get hung up is that when you have a quorum present, you can be basically having a meeting, but you forgot to post it and notify the public. So this can happen if you have a quorum, which is the majority. So on a commission of 5, a majority would be 3. So that's your quorum. So whenever 3 of you are in the same place and start to talk about city business, you basically are having a meeting without the proper notice to the public. So that could technically be a Brown Act violation. And we don't want to do that because that can invalidate any decisions that were made. It can result in litigation and attorney's fees and things like that. There are exceptions when the 3 of you are together. If you attend a meeting hosted by another organization, so maybe the water district is having a meeting and 3 of you want to go, you could do that if you didn't sit together and you didn't participate and you didn't discuss amongst yourselves how a decision of the water district would impact the commission. So you always have to be aware of the appearances as a commission member, as a public official. There are other exceptions to the rule. So if you have a big item of business and you don't want to wait between meetings, you can create a subcommittee, and a subcommittee would be less than a quorum. So you could designate 2 of you to meet and say, hey, why don't you go and look at this potential dance program, do the legwork, meet with the public, and come back and report to the full committee. That wouldn't be a Brown Act violation because you're less than a quorum. Other exceptions are the Christmas tree lighting, for example. Like we all want to go and we want to support the city. You're going to have a quorum there. As long as you don't start to say, hey, I was talking to Commissioner Baker and she thinks we need five more trees to be lit. And yeah, I was talking to Commissioner Adams. He also said this. So you can see how when you're gathering in public, it can very easily turn to the topic of what you have in common, which is city business. So you just need to be aware of that. So you're kind of on alert. What does the public see? And are your decisions being made in public? I will refer you to some resources at the end so you can follow up. And I have a handout. I don't know if you made copy. Okay, you have it on here. Okay. Another way that a meeting can occur outside the public or not in compliance with the Brown Act would be the serial meeting. And that's really what I described at the tree lighting, where you end up talking to 2 more commissioners. So because you're a commission of 5 with a quorum of 3, you can talk to 1 other commissioner. And if you attend the city council meetings, you may hear one of the council members say, well, this person is my buddy for this issue. And that's how council members can keep track of it. Like I'm only going to talk to council member Medina Dirksen on this issue of the public art policy, because you don't want her to then go and talk to council member McCarthy and then there's a quorum of the council. So same for you. You can pick a buddy for the item, or maybe there's just somebody who you generally want to check in with, but you want to make sure that you're not inadvertently having a conversation with 1 other commissioner that evolves into the quorum. Okay, so the types of meetings that you have, if you're having a public notice meeting, this is your regular meeting, that's 72 hours notice. There may be an important issue of business and you need to meet outside of the regular schedule. So on 24 hours notice, at least 24 hours, you could call a special meeting. And you probably see this with the council meetings all the time. We have a lot of special meetings. So with the proper notice, the chair could decide, hey, we need to have a meeting, or a quorum could decide we need to have a meeting. And that would be a special meeting. The agenda, I'm sure you've looked at lots of them in the city, but basically you want to have a general description of the item to be transacted. So today's agenda is really good because it's telling you, before you is this resolution, and what is the resolution? It's creating this scholarship or it's approving an agreement. So just when you look through the agenda, the basic rule is you would like somebody in the 7th grade to be able to understand what you're going to discuss. So if it's a contract, sometimes there's more detail, but you just have to have the basics so people aren't surprised. And the reason for that is you want people to be on notice. So if it's not an accurate description and people say, well, I'm not interested in, this contract with Monterey with these fitness classes, and then you add something else, it's a construction. Well, you might have attended if you knew it was going to be that. I'm just giving an example. I know you don't approve construction contracts necessarily, but you just want to make sure the public's aware of what's going to be on the agenda. And so generally you can't discuss or take action on any item that's not on the agenda. We talked about public comment tonight. So you have to have an opportunity to allow the public to weigh in before you make any decision. So at a regular meeting, you're going to have general public comment, just like we just offered. And that's the time for the public to come forward with any comments or questions about items that aren't on tonight's agenda. There are different, let me see. So the city's in the process of looking at how we handle public comment. So you may have read in the paper about the Zoom bombing. And sometimes you don't allow the Zoom comments, but we have seen in other cities, people actually coming into the meeting with hate speech. And so we'll be discussing that at the next council meeting. So there may be some changes to the public comment, but for now, it's typically at the beginning of the agenda, which I think is the best for the public to participate. They don't have to wait till the end. It's when people are more lively at 6:30 than at 10:30. And if you come into the meeting and there's packed chambers and you have 50 people wanting to speak for 3 minutes each, the chair can limit that and say, can I see a show of hands? How many people want to comment on this item tonight? And you can always say, okay, we're going to allow 2 minutes each tonight because we have business to do. You don't want to be there all night. When you do limit comment like that, it just has to be even-handed. You can't offer 3 minutes and then decide, I don't like what the speaker has to say, and suddenly say, I'm sorry, your time is up, or now we're going to reduce it to 1 minute, because it's not fair. Everybody should have the equal amount of time. So it's always a good idea to look around, see how many people intend to speak. But again, we'll have more on that public comment processes after the next council meeting. If you have a special meeting, you don't have to allow the general public comment. For a special meeting, people are only there to comment on each specific agenda item. I've noticed in the past 10 years that the rules for public participation have been more liberally construed. So when I first started in the public sector, we would only allow public comment on action items. So if we were going to take a vote on something or give direction, we would allow public comment. But now I typically see it on most agenda items, except for the city on special presentations. At the outset of the council meeting, we typically don't take public comment on that. But every other item, why not, in my opinion, why not let the public weigh in and participate? We have some new rules about ex parte communications, and I will make sure that you have a copy of the current rules that council follows. They're the rules for running a public meeting, but a lot of the other commissions have been following these rules as well. And it makes sense. People often start in a commission and then may eventually run for council. So it's a good idea to follow the example that council's setting. But one of the new rules is about ex parte communications. And I'm not sure if how often this would come up before this commission, but typically if you're making a decision that affects a particular person, let's say the owner of the group fitness classes, and they have a contract that's coming before you because you're dealing with one person's rights, they may lobby you outside the meeting to say, hey, I really want you to fight for me, and they may contact you. So I think it's a good practice at the meeting to say, when the item comes, by the way, I spoke with the owner of the group fitness classes, and we basically talked about her programming, and just disclose. And this is a great way to make sure that every commission member has the same information, because you want everyone to make a decision on the same facts. If you're recommending a new policy for the city that's going to be citywide and is going to impact everyone, that is not the same as quasi-judicial or your judicial role that you take when you're dealing with one person's rights. When you're dealing with everyone, you're allowed to have biases. Maybe you were appointed because you had a particular point of view. So for that, it doesn't really matter that you had any type of discussion with members of the public, because it's a more legislative role that you're taking. If I'm going too fast or you have any questions, let me know. Do I need to pause? Is there anything that's come up so far? Am I putting you to sleep yet? Okay. Another issue to be aware of are conflicts of interest. So again, there are rules, and we can refer you to the resources as well, but the public expects you to be a neutral decision maker. So they want you to make a decision on the facts and not because something would benefit you personally. So there, where you do have a conflict, for example, I'm married to the owner of those fitness classes, I'm going to vote yes. You shouldn't do that, because you have a conflict of interest and you're not making a decision, or you're not perceived to make a decision in the best interest of the city. So in that case, as soon as the item was called, you would say to the chair, or you might notify the chair in advance, by the way, I have a conflict of interest. I'm going to state it on the record. And when the item is called, you could simply say, I'm going to recuse myself from participating in this decision because I have a conflict of interest. I'm married to the owner of the fitness group. And that may not be enough in that particular, that's a bad example. It may not be enough to get you out of it, but just for example, you would disclose it and then you would leave the room, because the laws don't allow you to influence or participate or make. So if you sat at the back of the room and made faces, you could influence the decision even if you weren't voting. So I always tend to think, err on the side of caution. If you think the public believes you have a conflict of interest, then I would recuse myself, rather than have that public belief that you're not making a fair decision. There's also, anyway, so I think that's enough on conflicts. So, I think that's about all. Just a little bit more on, yeah, I think that's everything on the Brown Act. Do you have any questions about meetings, serial meetings, the agenda, posting? We're good? Okay, I'll move on to the Public Records Act. And I think this is a difficult law to understand when you become a public official. And again, in the spirit of transparency and making sure that the public has a right to understand the decisions that you're making, almost everything that you touch in your position of commissioner is going to be open for public review. And on a regular basis, we're getting requests for records of the city under the Public Records Act. And from the city's perspective, we have a very short statutory time to comply. Within 10 days, we have to say yes or no. We'll produce the records. It doesn't matter how busy you are. It doesn't matter how short-staffed you are. You have to comply. And if you received a Public Records Act request, which again is a very broad interpretation, somebody could just come up to you and say, hey, I want to see a copy of that contract. And then you would refer it to the city clerk or to Andrea. And then we want to make sure it goes through the proper channel so we can track it, because we don't want to end up not meeting those statutory deadlines. So you don't have to handle it personally. You just need to notify the right person. It may mean that you would need to review your emails to see whether you had any responsive documents. But it's a good reminder, because sometimes I review a lot of the documents and sometimes humor doesn't translate that well. And sometimes people don't realize that what they write is going to be distributed. So not in the city, but another city I worked at, people would make comments about members of the public, and they were derogatory. And then there's no way, I can't hold that back. There's no exemption. The public has a right to see what people are saying. So I think you've heard this before, but you never put anything in writing that you wouldn't want to see in the Herald, right? So not to scare you, but so records are very broadly defined. So it would be email, it could be text messages, it could be voicemail. If like all my voicemails are transcribed right into my email, so everything then becomes a public record. There are exemptions. So if you contacted me or the future city attorney with a question, that would be privileged. That type of stuff would be protected. Or sometimes it's something that has a specific exemption. It could be a personnel issue. It could be something involving litigation. So I would just forward the request to Andrea or to Anita, and then we would decide what to hold back. So, but it's just something that takes getting used to. There are certain rules. If a member of the public comes into the meeting and they hand a copy to you and they want the whole commission to see it, you have to, after the meeting, make sure that the public has a right to see what you received. So again, it's just the public is wanting to make sure that they understand how you made your decision. If staff provides you a document at the last minute, we have to provide that to the public as well. So the last topic I have, you'll be happy to know I'm wrapping it up, are the parliamentary rules. And the city follows Robert's Rules of Order, and those are really for much bigger bodies, and they're very complicated. I think a really good guide to have is Rosenberg's Rules of Order. And it's a great resource because it just gives you some very basic information about the role of the chair. So a lot falls on you. You're directing all the traffic. You're maintaining order. You're making sure business is transacted. You're making sure that public comment is taken. So you're moving things along just how Andrea prompted you. You could call for a motion. There's different ways that you can do that, but you're to move it along. And so there's another resource. It's called Jurassic Parliament. The woman is actually based in Washington. but she has great, just for free, great blogs and little tidbits on how to deal with a disruptive public, or how to have a very efficient meeting, or how to keep minutes for your meeting. And so I subscribe to that. I think it's really helpful because it gives you a lot of practical examples, but it is really important to meeting efficiency, and you'll get into a rhythm. In the council rules, we have a basic process for how we order the agenda, and then also how we entertain an item. So as chair, you would call the item, you would refer to staff for the presentation. Our new policy is to immediately go out to the public for comment and have the public weigh in. And that's great because it keeps everything running efficiently, and it gives the commission a sense of where the public is and what questions they may have. After that, you can ask questions of the staff, or if a question was raised by a member of the public, you could, either the chair could say, I'd like to have that question answered. You're always directing it to your commission members and not necessarily the public, because sometimes you can get into a back and forth with the public. So you're really here to do business with each other, right? The public has an opportunity to weigh in, but they don't run the meeting. You want all of their comment, but it's for you to decide. So you'll have the questions, any questions that come up that you feel need to be answered, then there's a discussion. And then when you feel like you're getting to a point where you want to make a decision, then the chair could say, would anyone like to make a motion? Or any of you could offer and say, I'd like to make a motion. And you have different ways of doing that. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as set forth in the agenda 9B1. Or you'll notice council, they read from it. So oftentimes we try to draft the agenda so it's ready to go to say, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2023, blah, blah, blah. And then the chair, you'll prompt, is there a second? And then I like to announce, because I've been in so many public meetings over the years that you can't always tell who's speaking. And so then we'll say, okay, we have, a motion by Commissioner Adams, a second by Commissioner Baker. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, nay. And then under a new provision in the statute, you need to announce it to say the motion passes 3-1, Commissioner, so-and-so dissenting. So you have it for the record and everyone can hear. And oftentimes when the chair calls and announces that, or maybe staff is going to announce the vote, however you run your meetings. I don't know, do you usually call for the motion?
No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
You say the motion to.
And then announce it. And it was just like Carolina did at the beginning, right? She asked for a motion and a second. She took the vote and then she announced it. Because sometimes, we can't hear correctly and somebody will say, oh, I actually voted in favor of that and you recorded my vote. So it's, again, you're just trying to make sure you have an accurate record. So that's the basic format for how an item is presented. There are different things that happen with motions, and sometimes it can get very complicated. So I like to think of it as you're going to take the most recent motion first. So what could happen is somebody could make a motion and you have a second. And then sometimes there's a little bit more discussion. Like, I want to clarify your motion. Did you mean to include this? Or somebody might say, I want to make a friendly amendment. I actually want to approve the contract, but have a 2-year term and not a 3-year term. Will you accept my friendly amendment? So, right, we had the first and the second, that motion's on the table. Now we have a friendly amendment, and the motion maker can say yay or nay, I'm going to accept it. You'll hear this at council, or some people say, no, I don't accept that. And there might be more discussion. And that second motion has to be resolved. There could be a motion to amend. There could be a substitute motion. So sometimes it can get kind of complicated. So I just think it's not first in, first out. It's last in, first, something like that. So you just start with the most recent one. And we had kind of a complicated motion last night where we had a motion and then somebody wanted to make a substitute motion, but that one didn't get a second. So that failed. And then we were back to the first motion. Does it sound super fun and exciting for the chair? Again, I think, you can't really get it wrong you want to make it clear for the public what's happening. And I think it's a really good idea to restate the motion at the end. And I think it's just a good way for people to understand exactly what you approved, because sometimes, especially at the council level, they like to build the motion. Are you thinking of our motion last night? The motion they'll build a motion. They'll make a different motion than what we have in the staff report. And so then it's a good idea to repeat it so everyone understands we actually approved this contract for 2 years, not 3. We need to be clear. Again, you're just trying to be clear for the public. Lastly, which is good, I'm wrapping up. It's important, I think, as commissioners to be models of courtesy and decorum. And I've noticed in my tenure in the public sector that there has been a big shift in how people behave, not only in the public, but sometimes on the board or council as well. And so I just think we can all disagree, but we can do it in a respectful way. We're not going to be unanimous on everything, but everyone should have the chance to give their viewpoint and be heard, and then make that decision as a majority of the commission. And same with members of the public. Sometimes members of the public are upset and angry and accusatory. And that's part of being a public official, frankly. I mean, they'll sometimes make comments that aren't true or imply that you did something wrong. And so I just think, unfortunately, that's part of public service, and it's changed quite a bit. And so I just try to think it's not personal. People are caught up in the issues and just, unfortunately develop a thicker skin and not get into it. Because I have seen different councils and boards try to get into it with the public. And I have also been riled before. And it never works. If I just say, okay, thank you for your comment, even if it's awful, and then just move on, it just goes much better. So, of course, you don't have to take abuse, and I'm not advocating that, but we do see people have their emotions get up. So that's basically my presentation tonight. Do you have any questions on anything? All right. Okay. So I'll make sure Andrea has the Rosenberg's Rules of Order just to kind of thumb through that, and then also the council policies.
Thank you, Heidi. I've already said this, I think, twice, and I'm saying it again. This is a learning experience for all of us. So I think we put the 2 resolutions that have already been passed by council, we probably put them in the wrong section of the agenda, because we don't need you to take action. We just want you to be aware that those resolutions passed. So there's no action to take on consent. I will be talking about those 2 items in my presentation, so you will get information about those. Okay?
Okay.
So if you guys are ready, I'll go ahead and start with my presentation. Okay.
Already.
Thank you. So really tonight is just about kind of setting a foundation for you as a commission, us as a group. And so it was important for me to ask Heidi to come and give you the basics on the laws. And I asked that you read through her handouts and through her resources, because the thing that's going to be tricky about us is we only meet quarterly. And so it's going to be a little bit more challenging to get into that rhythm that council gets into because they're meeting, every other week. But we will get through it. My presentation is really to just give you a broad overview of the department and what we as a department, what we do, and some new things that we've been able to already establish within the last 6 months since I've been here, and kind of a path on where we're going. It's right now a short-term path because I've only been here 6 months, so I don't quite have, a 10-year plan yet. So this is really just to kind of bring you guys up to speed. And then the next meeting, I'm sure we will have more kind of meat on the bones for you to make some decisions. Okay. So Carolina, if you could go ahead and go to the next slide. And is this on your screens in front of you? Okay, perfect, because it might be a little hard to read. So this is just an overview of our organizational chart. I'm going to use this also as an opportunity to make some introductions. So I'm Andrea. I'm the new director, as you know. Just a little bit of background on me. I started out my career on college campuses, and so I have about 25 years of experience running campus recreation programs on 5 different college campuses. They have varied from very small private colleges to very large public colleges. And it was just a really, really great foundation for me. I moved to municipal recreation about 6 years ago when I went to be the manager at the Monterey Sports Center. I was there for 5 years, and now I've been here for 6 months, and I feel very fortunate to be in this position. Carolina Rivera is our administrative assistant. She is really my right-hand person. If you come into the office, you will see that our offices are literally next door and the door is open, and we are just constantly shaking and moving and getting things done. And she has been a wealth of knowledge and support, and I feel has really been key in my success in this transition. So I want to thank Carolina. Do you want to say anything about your time with the city, how long you've been here?
Believe it or not, I have been with the city for over 20 years. Over 20 years. I was 10 when I started. I first did 5 years in admin. I was the admin assistant there, then transitioned over to the Recreation Cultural Services Department. And it's kind of embarrassing to say, but after 20 years, I'm learning a lot off of Andrea. There's always something new with that woman, which makes it exciting. And I can't wait to see what we do in another 6 months, because we've done a lot. The whole team has done a lot in 6 months. So, and you'll hear about it too.
Thank you. And then we have Ron Powell, who is our recreation specialist for sports. And I'm going to let Ron introduce himself.
Yep, Ron Powell. So I've been with the city for going on 18 years now. I'm a passion for coaching. Name is Ron Powell, but the kids, AKA Coach Ron. So I pretty much coach all the different sports here in the city. Also, something I've been doing lately is overseeing these special events, the Halloween, Thanksgiving, Winterfest, and so forth. But I enjoy what I do, and plan to be here for a little while longer, if they let me.
Thank you. And now Kathy Meacham, recreation specialist over the Teen Center and Teen Programs.
I've been with the city for 17 years. Down at Teen Center, I don't know if any of you've been down there, but it is pretty loud and pretty wild. Teens are teens. And yes, it has been a big learning experience with Andrea. She's provided a lot of knowledge for all of us, I believe. And I'm also looking forward to the next move with Andrea, because she does have a lot of knowledge and brings a lot to us.
And Laura Johansson, who is a recreation specialist over our youth and senior programs.
My name is Laura Johansson. I've been with the city of Marina for 38 years. I have the youth program, no, the senior program in the morning, and then in the afternoons, I go to the youth program. And I love what I'm doing, basically love the kids. And yes, Andrea is wonderful. She brings a lot to us.
I paid them to say all that. We have a fourth recreation specialist position that is currently vacant. We hope to be filling that in the near future. And then we have a part-time recreation specialist position for special events. And I am in the hiring process on that position. Hopefully we have that position filled at the first of the year. So on paper there are a lot of boxes, but in reality, there's only 5 of us currently. And you'll see as we go through the rest of the presentation, how much this team is really doing and getting done. And before we move on, I just really want to thank the entire team. They have been just fabulous. It's always a little scary starting a new position in a brand new city, not knowing anybody. And this was such a well-established program already, and such a strong reputation. And so I was stepping into some very big shoes, as everyone I think knows. And the 3 recreation specialists and Carolina have been just wonderful to work with. So I'm very happy to be here. Just want to give you an idea on the budget. This will, I kind of am planting the seed here a little bit because I think this is something that the commission is really going to need to give input and make some decisions on. So this is a 6-year snapshot. And so you can see over the past 6 years, our average revenue per year was $85,000. That revenue comes mostly from youth and teen and senior members who, purchase memberships for our programs. Additionally, summer programs, break programs, sports programs, facility rentals. So those are our different revenue sources. But you can see our expenses on average are close to $1 million a year, which means the general fund has been subsidizing the recreation department to the tune of almost $900,000 a year. As you can see, that's about a 9% cost recovery. So what that means is for every dollar we spend, we're only bringing in 9 cents to recover the cost of service. This is fairly low compared to what other cities in California are doing. It's not right or wrong. This has been the philosophy and the approach for the city of Marina because there's a very strong value on keeping our programs affordable and accessible, and I fully support that. But I don't know how sustainable it is into the future, especially as we are growing programs, growing the staff, adding new facilities, adding new parks. Only recovering 9% might not be sustainable into the future. So I'm just putting this out here as kind of a topic that we will, I'm sure, be discussing at length in our meetings. Okay. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go into the programming. Ron oversees our youth sports programs, and there are kind of few different categories there. So one we're calling camps. And these camps are typically like 1-week camps. There might be multiple weeks for a certain sport. But basically the children sign up for a week at a time, and it's sport specific. I just realized that I have a picture there of kids with hockey sticks, and hockey is not one of the camps. It's, I just noticed that. Carolina, you were supposed to check this. You were supposed to fact check this. Next slide. And then we have leagues. So we have a couple different basketball leagues, dodgeball, indoor hockey, futsal, which is basically indoor soccer. And then the program most of you have probably heard about is the Junior Giants baseball program. And then we have competitions as well. So we have a competition called Hoop Shoot, which is run through the Elks, Ron, is that right? And so we have a competition here, and the kids that that win the competition here get to move on to the next competition, which is held at the Elks Lodge. And it just keeps going up the chain. Does it get to a state level?
So we have our local competition. It was held this past Saturday at the Boys and Girls Club in Seaside. First place winners will advance to the regionals, San Jose. After that, state is in Sacramento. And then if they advance past that, nationals are in Las Vegas.
Great, thank you. We also do a hot shot competition and a pitch, hit, and run competition. So those are programs that the kids really, really enjoy, and Ron oversees all of that. Moving on to the youth center. So during the academic year, the youth center hosts an after-school program. We have capacity for about 100 kids, give or take. Laura will not turn anyone away. So, you know, she'll tell me our capacity is 100, and then she'll send me a roster with 110 because she just can't say no. So we love that about her. That's for kindergarten through 5th grade. And it's not just, you know, an after school program. We provide transportation. We do walking school buses. We do van transportation. We provide healthy snacks. We provide homework support. And a lot of fun activities. So that happens during the school year. And then during academic breaks, spring break and summer break currently, we run an all-day program as opposed to just after school. And those all-day programs consist of field trips. There's a picture there of the Monterey Sports Center, not because I worked there, but because we actually take a lot of field trips there. And it's really, really fun. So I had some connection with this program even before I came over. Lots of games, lots of sports, lots of arts and crafts. So really fun summer enrichment program. Moving forward, we are looking at potentially adding those academic breaks during the fall Thanksgiving break and during the winter break. That's really tough to do with a very small staff. They need their breaks too. They need to take some time off and recharge. But parents still need care for their kids, even though it's the holidays. And so we will figure out how to move forward with that with the staffing that we have, hopefully hiring that 4th full-time person, training up our part-time staff. The goal is to be able to run that program for every academic break, but to also allow these guys to take their time off, spend time with their families, have that work-life balance. So that's something we're working on. The Teen Center has both a before and after school program. We currently have about 200 members, and Kathy reports that it continues to grow, even though we're halfway through the school year. Kids are still finding out about it, and hey, I want to sign up. My friends there, my family members there. That's for grades 6 through 12. And if you haven't visited our Teen Center, I invite you to stop by anytime and take a peek in. Similar to the Youth Center, we run programs during academic breaks. And again, we will look into whether it's needed for us to be open during the fall and winter breaks moving forward. And Senior Center. So we call it Youth Center, Senior Center, but they're both in the same center, which is called the Rocky Haun Community Center. So moving forward, we might work on some of our vernacular. But we currently have 130 members. We have exercise classes, we have pickleball, we have the sewing club, we have social hours. I think we now have ping pong and card making. Laura, is that right? Yeah, card making. So what happens there is, people will be at the sewing club and they'll say, hey, I really enjoy making cards. Does anyone else enjoy making cards? Let's start making cards. So some of these programs are very organic and the members just decide we're going to do this. Sometimes they'll bring their own supplies. Sometimes we supply it. It just kind of depends. But really great active membership for the seniors. Special events, Ron alluded to this. This is the list of our official events that Recreation runs: Multicultural Festival, 4th of July, Halloween, Thanksgiving Community Meal, Winterfest, and Easter Pancake Breakfast and Egg Hunt. We are involved in a lot more than that, but we are not necessarily the official sponsor. So like the tree lighting ceremony as an example, that is the Marina Foundation event. We assist by lighting up all the trees and just general coordination of the facility use. So we're involved in a lot more than these, but these are the ones that we're responsible to organize and market and conduct. And then facility rentals. So we have 3 facilities that available for rent: Gloria Jean Tate Park building, otherwise known as the Scout House, the Vince DiMaggio Park building, which is pictured there. It's a beautiful picture of that building. And we haven't been renting the Rocky Horn Community Center in a while, but we are trying to figure out how to do that. It's difficult when you have, a private party on a Saturday or on a Sunday night, let's say, and then you have line dancing Monday morning and the floor is sticky and there are issues. So we're trying to figure out the logistics to bring the community center back online for rental, because we really do bring in quite a bit of revenue through our facility rental program, park rental program. And so that's something that we're going to try to do in the near future, is bring that center online. So what's next in recreation? So this is one of the resolutions that is mentioned. Council approved an agreement between the city and Monterey Bay Moves. Monterey Bay Moves currently conducts our senior fitness classes, and they're local here in Marina. And so we are going to do a pilot program. We don't really know how well it will be received or not, but we're going to give it our best shot. It is a fee-based program, which is new. We typically don't charge for a lot of our activities. And if we do charge, we charge very little. But I was looking at our programming. We do a lot for youth. We do a lot for seniors. And there really wasn't much in the middle, right? And I should have brought the staff report with me. I think 58% of our residents are between the ages of 19 and 55, and we don't have any programming for them. We don't have fitness classes. We don't have adult sports leagues. We don't have all of that. So this is kind of us getting our toe dipped in the water a little bit to see if this is something the community wants. There aren't a lot of options in Marina. There's Montage. They offer group fitness classes, but they're about $80 a month. They have a very high initiation fee. And so that might not be affordable for everyone. And then some of the other smaller gyms just don't offer the group fitness. Anytime Fitness doesn't have a group exercise program. So we're going to give it a try. We are doing a free wellness week, January 15th through the 20th. We have a wide variety of activities. As soon as I have it all scheduled out, we will let you know. But it's going to be a combination of fitness classes and educational series. We even have some cooking demonstrations planned. And so there's going to be a lot of activity that first week. It's going to all be free. And the fitness classes are the same classes that we will then be offering as part of our pilot program. So it's kind of a try it out, see if you like it. And if you like it, then we're going to ask you to register and pay a small fee. Okay. What else is next? I'm in conversation with a company that offers specialty summer camps. These are camps that we would not be able to offer on our own. We don't have the staffing. We don't have the expertise. We don't have the supplies. This company comes in and provides all of that. And so these are just a sample of some of the camps we could bring. Lego Week, which is very, very popular. Art Week, Science Week. There are probably 8 to 10 different activities we can choose from. There's a slime week, there's a science week, nature week. And so we are actually working on a survey. Carolina's working on a survey where we are going to ask families, which of these programs would you like to see come to Marina? And this first summer, we'll probably pick maybe 2 or 3 that are highest on the list. We'll try to bring them in and see how successful it is. And that will be in addition to the summer programming we already offer. So we will continue to offer the very affordable summer camps that we currently offer. And then this will be in addition. And so that will give families also a little bit more choice. So that's something that will be coming. Another thing that we are working on, keeping recreation affordable and accessible. That is a very, very strong value of the city and of the council and of our staff. And so as we're growing our programs and we're starting to look at fees and trying to maybe increase our cost recovery a little bit to make it a little bit more sustainable, we want to make sure our community has access. And so council approved for a needs-based scholarship program. And we are going to call that program the Marina Action Pass. And I just found out today that a very, very generous donor has committed $10,000 in seed money to get that program started. So we got the program approved with no money in it. And we're like, we're going to go out and raise that money. And we already have one big generous donor. So very, very excited about that. So we will be able to start advertising this program probably in January, which will be nice because it'll be in conjunction with the new fitness program. So the way the Marina Action Pass is going to work is all of our programs. You can apply for an action pass. It's not just for youth, which a lot of cities do, just youth aid. It's not just for seniors. It's for anyone who needs that assistance because we want our programs to be accessible to all. And so I'm really, really excited about that. And now that it's all approved, we'll really start getting into the finer points of the application and, you know, what they need to show us to establish the need and all of that. But it will all be done in a very respectful manner. So very excited about that. Next. We also are in contract for a new online registration and payment software system. We're going with SvcsRec. We are already a customer of Civic Plus. That's who powers our website. And so SvcsRec is a module under Civic Plus. So it's great because our website and our registration software will be integrated, fully integrated. Currently, for any of our programs, if you want to register your child for Kids Night In for Friday night, you have to physically come to City Hall during whatever hours Carolina tells you to. And you fill out a paper registration form and you pay cash or check only at the desk because we do not currently accept credit cards. When this comes online, which will probably be around April, we'll probably be live in April. You literally will be able to shop on your phone just like you do Amazon, and you'll be able to look and say, oh, look, they're doing Kids Night In. That looks great. I'm going to sign up for that. And folks will create an account, register for whatever activity they're doing. We can do membership sales on there. We can do activity registration, facility reservations and rentals, special event ticketing. We can issue tickets, and that way when people come, you know, we know that they've either just RSVP'd at no fee or maybe they've paid their fee depending on the activity. This software is very, very powerful. So things like the youth center, you know, you have to be between this age and that age. When you create your account and you put your child's information in there, it will only let you sign that child up for activities that are within their age range. So if you have a 5-year-old, you're not going to be able to sign that 5-year-old up for a teen field trip, which just takes a lot of the workload off of staff, that we don't have to be looking at that and verifying that. We're going to have GIS. So the system will automatically know based on your address if you're a Marina resident or not. A lot of our fees currently, Marina residents pay less than non-residents. Again, instead of us manually looking at a form and making that decision for them, the software is going to do that. So it's really going to create a lot more efficiency on our end. Carolina spends an awful lot of time up at the counter, a lot of interruptions throughout the day, for a $3 payment or a $5 payment. And so we think this is going to really modernize our operation. Also much more convenient for the parents, right? I mean, they won't have to get in their car, drive over here, come in, fill out a form to pay the $3. They can just boop, boop, boop. We got it all done. The waivers will be online. We have document management online. It's a very, very robust software system. And it's really just going to take our department into the next level. Okay, wanted to update you on capital improvement projects that were approved by council for the biannual budget. Is that what we're calling it? Every 2 years. So fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25, these are the different projects that were approved. Teen Center outdoor court resurfacing. So behind the Teen Center, we have a large area that is basketball, volleyball, and that's going to get resurfaced and repainted. We have some money to do some design and development on a potential new boarding facility. The Los Arbolos tennis courts are going to be resurfaced and restriped. The upper court will remain tennis. The lower court will be pickleball. The sports building deck will be replaced. There's a proposal for disc golf off of Reservation and Salinas. And plenty of room to put the disc golf down there, but there currently isn't any parking. And so that 100,000 is for parking and access to the future disc golf course there. Vince DiMaggio Park Building floor replacement. Anyone that's been in Vince DiMaggio, the floor is kind of an aggregate concrete. So lots of kind of pebbles and stones and rocks in concrete, which is not really conducive to fitness classes. And that's where we do all of our senior fit, not all, but most of our senior fitness classes. That's where we'll be doing a lot of our new fitness classes. And it's hard to keep clean, really, really hard to keep clean, because you can't just mop it. You really need to have it professionally steam cleaned on a regular basis to keep it clean. So we'll be replacing that with more of a multi-purpose kind of studio floor that will be very conducive to fitness and dance and other activities. Where are we? Windy Hill Park. We are going to replace the playground equipment and add a bathroom. Teen Center deferred maintenance. We're just going to go in and fix everything up that needs to be fixed up. And so it'll be everything from some repairs, some fresh paint, maybe some new flooring. That's still under development, but that building hasn't been touched in a while. And so it's nice to have $300,000 to go in and really shine that facility up. Same with the community center. We have $500,000 for deferred maintenance there. Preston Park upgrades. So there was a lot of conversation, and we're going to talk about this again in a few minutes. Dunes Park. There were 4 different options presented. I don't know, a while back, about 8 months ago, I think. And one of the option that was chosen had a multi-use field. During the budget process, council decided to reallocate funding to Preston Park so that all of the fields were basically starting to build kind of a sports complex. So that money will go towards upgrading our current fields, adding another multi-use field, and putting in a new playground at Preston. So really trying to create a sports park up there. And then sports and aquatic center rehabilitation, 2.6 million. That's adding to an existing budget. Obviously, those projects will be much more than 2.6 million. So it's adding to an existing budget so that we can keep that process going until the funding is available to do the build out. And then Gloria Jean Tate Park improvements. I'm sure everyone knows we have that wonderful, wonderful pump track over there that I just love. And then phase 2 involves adding a new playground, adding some basketball courts, pickleball courts, bocce ball, dog park, all kinds of fun things. And pardon me? A walking track around the perimeter. So those are all the projects that are recreation related that were approved by council. There is a much longer list of projects. And so our Public Works Department has a heavy lift if we think we're going to get all of these things done. But I'm sure we will get there. If you could go back one, please. Okay, so I wanted to, this is already a funded project, so it's not on the list I just talked about. This is the Dune City Park project. So this is the park that is adjacent to the future Sports and Aquatics Center. This is the option that was approved. You can see in the middle there, there's a multi-use field. Because council decided to move money to put fields at Preston Park, there is not enough money to do the fields here. And so we're in the process of looking at other options again. And if you could go to the next slide. This is a concept. And again, it's not exactly where every little thing will be, but it just kind of gives you an idea of what that park might look like without a field in the middle. The sports pavilion that you see at the top right, that if it happens will be more in alignment with the buildings, so right behind the aquatics facility. So you can kind of ignore that one, but it kind of just gives you a sense of what that might look like without a field. And then next slide, an idea to really give that park some punch is to add this fitness court. There's a program called the National Fitness Campaign, and they're putting these courts all over the place. And what's great about it is they are very low maintenance, very accessible, open anytime the park's open. So it's really a free gym for people to be able to go. There's 7 different stations. There are instructions on how to do every station. There's an app, of course, because everyone has an app now. And it just really improves access to fitness and wellness and recreation by putting something like this in a park. It's not shown in these pictures, but the idea, if it's approved, is that in addition to that court that you see that is 78 by 78 feet, there would be an additional 78 by 78 feet on the other side of the wall that says fitness court. But that would have no equipment. It would just be the identical flooring. So we could do outdoor classes. We could do outdoor yoga, outdoor Zumba, all kinds of different activities. And that's a new feature of the fitness court. That's new in 2024. Another new feature of the fitness court in 2024 is that instead of having just the standard fitness court logo on the wall, we can do custom artwork. And so that might be a fun public arts project. And really make it unique to Marina. So again, going back to the last slide, Carolina, if you could just kind of picture this park and then that fitness court somewhere within that park. And then I made a recommendation if we could add a second basketball court, that would be helpful. Right now, there's only one basketball court. It's one of the most popular sports for all ages. And so I would like to see 2 courts out there. Okay, go ahead and move forward. Thank you. So I just threw a lot of information at you and want to get any feedback that you have, any questions, any comments.
So I have a question about the new payment program.
Mhm.
Will it be tested for and provided with the public for feedback before it goes live?
The software, well, we've already committed, so we will be moving forward with this particular software. It will be tested, but I don't know how much we will be able to change based on the configuration. Of course, we always want feedback. We always want input. And if we can tweak things, we will. But we are committed to that particular platform.
Okay. I think it would be helpful to have an additional donation section. So, you have where you can pay for special programs, but if there's someone that's wants to donate to the city like $1,000, and then they can just go on that same website and do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I do believe that has that feature. Most of them do. I don't remember from the demo exactly. I watched a lot of demos, but I'm pretty sure it does have that feature, and that's a great idea. Yeah, thank you.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Was the sports center and marina profitable for the city? Excuse me, for the city of Monterey?
So there was a mandate of 75% cost recovery. So that was mandated by council. We always hit 75%. Most years pre-COVID, we hit sometimes 80, 90% cost recovery. Post-COVID, we were closer to 60% cost recovery, but it was moving up. As far as I know, the mandate is still 75%. And so that's typically where they land.
Big difference between the two.
Yeah.
And then Monterey Bay Moves, where will that be held?
Most of the classes will be at Vince DiMaggio, and some of the classes will be outdoor.
Just one last question. The donor for the scholarship, does that person wish to remain anonymous?
At this point, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I think we will be able to make an announcement in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question. So the exercise area that you showed looked really exciting. I actually saw something like that in San Francisco that was very well used. Is that something that the public can rent out for their private exercise classes, or is it just, whoever comes and uses it, first come, first serve?
So we'll have to work all those details out. If someone is providing an organized activity, they would definitely have to reserve it, just like, our policies. If you have 6 or more people in a park, that's considered a group. And so you need to reserve the picnic table or the whatever it is. So I would imagine we would apply the same. And then if someone wants to actually charge a fee for their service, then they would need a business license, they would need insurance, and there would probably be a different fee for renting the facility if you're doing it for profit.
I think that's a great idea because there's a lot of private trainers that
Yes.
want to have a class. And
Yeah.
I think that's good funding for the city is
Yeah.
to charge them.
Yeah, the hard part will be enforcement, and I dealt with this at the sports center all the time. We didn't allow private personal training. If you wanted a personal trainer, you had to hire one of our personal trainers. And we would see 2 people clearly personal training. We would approach and they would say, "Oh, we're just friends. We're just hanging out. We're just, very, very hard. You don't see the money exchange hands inside the sports center. That happens out in the parking lot. So it's hard to enforce, but we definitely will have policies and procedures in place, and we'll do our best to enforce it. Yeah. Any feedback on the parks, that the park that we just talked about, Dune City? I just wanted to get feedback on that because it will be going to council. And so if you have any comments, that would be great.
I think it's great. I love the revisions because we're using existing, sports specific areas and patch those up, make those better. And the revised plan looks really nice. Not so sure about the bocce section because we have an existing bocce at the dunes and it's not so much used.
Okay,
So I would recommend maybe looking at a different alternative sports that we don't already have in the
Okay.
area. That could replace that section. But other than that, it looks really great. I'm really excited about the historical center. And the amphitheater. I think that's great that we combine art and sports
Mhm.
and non-sports people. So that's really great.
great. Thank you. Okay, if there aren't any other questions, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. I thought we said it wasn't a consent thing, it was just information you provided.
It was in consent, it was under consent, then you pulled it to go
Hi.
to your other.
We put it in the wrong section, and so Heidi said we do not have to take any action on that. So we'll get that right next time.
Because it's just information for us.
It's just
right?
information,
Right.
and so there's no action required, so it should not have been under consent. It should have been under like presentation or information, so.
Okay, so then the next thing is commission comments, reports and information. Yay, you guys have any comments you want to make before we end our day? Cool. So then we need a motion to adjourn. Okay, and Sheila makes a motion to adjourn. I'm gonna get used to this. Makes a motion to adjourn. Does anybody second it? Oh, I'm gonna have to write your names down. Mia seconds it. So I guess I just say we adjourn. Oh, can I get a vote? And then what?
And then meeting is adjourned.
Oh, okay, yays, yay, and nays. So we have a full, whatever you call it, a full quorum? No, full.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Oh, I had it written down. Doggone it. Okay, so we are adjourned. Oh,
Thank you.